Welcome back to Gene and Roger Talk Movies. Gene is back with us from vacation.
Yes, big Colorado adventure, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, and your
Yeah.
kid, he was doing swim meets and all that kind of craziness.
Yeah, I went to swim camp in Gunnison, Colorado, of all places.
Well, how exciting
7,000
is
feet.
that? And so, I've been hyping the fact that we were going to do X today as our 40th episode. We've done a year's worth of episodes.
I've ruined it. I know.
Gene,
I've ruined it.
And Gene, much like I assumed, he backed out. Luckily, however, he has agreed to do the prequel to X, which is called Pearl. Also stars
It's a great movie, by the way.
Also stars Mia Goth and directed by Ty West, filmed secretly, quote unquote, while they were finishing up filming X.
Yeah.
And it basically tells the story, the prequel story of the primary antagonist from X and kind of how she got to be the way she is. So, Gene, initial thoughts on Pearl?
Pearl is a good movie. It just the big theme here seems to be like there's this and I think we can all relate to this clash, this conflict here. In a way, it's a clash of the Americanism. In a way, it's the inherent conflict between myself, me being an individual, and versus self-sacrifice or maybe even obedience to some other form, obedience maybe, or loyalty to your family, or self-sacrifice to maybe like your government or something. But it's a clash. America is like all this, don't tread on me, I'm an individual, I'm going to do what I want. But, we're also about, the kind of our Puritan ideals, self-sacrifice, working hard, we're obedient to these people in authority. And Pearl, has a huge conflict with that because she's stuck on this farm and she has a domineering mother and her father's an invalid and her life is going nowhere. Her husband's off fighting World War I. She has no idea if he's ever going to return, and she has dreams of doing something else. So it's a conflict I think we can all kind of relate to. Is this what my life is going to be? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel for me? It's like, where's my life going? It's Pearl's dilemma in this movie, and it is a horror movie, so obviously Pearl makes some choices which probably are not wise.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it makes for a good horror movie, and it's essential conflict that I think everyone can relate to.
The other thing I like about this film too is a lot of the talk of masks, right? So it's set during the influenza epidemic there in 1918.
The Spanish flu, 1918.
And so characters are wearing masks. There's a lot of fear about interacting socially with others, so there's a lot of isolation going on. But then there's this other layer to the mask of Pearl having to present herself in a certain way when reality is dramatically different. And they talk about that all throughout the film, where you have this way you present yourself that you want other people to see, but then there's this other reality as to what you really are. And the main point of this film, or the main plot driver here, is Pearl desperately wants to be a dancer. She loves going to old movies.
Right.
So she'll go down to the town to get her father's medicine, and then she'll also...
Which is like morphine.
Right. It's 1918, of course, right? It's
like
influenza,
Lord.
Spanish flu going on.
And then Pearl's in the movie theater watching her cabaret shows and she's drinking the dance.
Right. Jeez. But, and the interesting thing about, I think this movie is beautifully done.
Yeah, it is.
Ty West, with X, the next movie in this series, he kind of made it more like a 70s grindhouse, Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of thing. And this one, set in 1918, it really reminded me of something like a David O. Selznick movie or Gone with the Wind or something, because he has the sweeping credits that go by.
Yep.
The colors are just popping bright, almost like a Technicolor, right? The old color.
Yeah,
where
the
really
colors
bright,
of the homes.
deep.
You're right. Barn.
And I do want to point out the cinematographer as well, Elliot Rocket, who not only was a cinematographer for this, but also for X, also did Ty West's House of the Devil. And these are beautifully shot films. And the budget on this movie is only like $1 million.
$1 million.
And just because that cinematographer is so solid, it looks way more expensive than that.
Right.
But the other thing I liked too is there's all these little background things to see. And so they have a poster at the movie theater for the Theda Bara Cleopatra film, which is a famous lost film. There's only like a fragment that exists of just a few seconds of footage from that movie. And the thing is, it's almost like this comparison of the Pearl character with Theda Bara, because Theda Bara was this kind of flash in the pan sort of actress, like the big first sex symbol. And Pearl is kind of wanting to be one of those chorus girls, and so she
desperately wants to be
learns about. And I also like that her alligator pet is named Theda as well. But
nice.
They set up this deal where there's like this church is going to hold these auditions for this dance group. They're only going to take one girl, and you get to tour around, bringing joy to people. And so that's Pearl's big driver for this whole film.
Yeah, Pearl desperately wants to escape her plight that she finds herself in. You know, she's like alluded before, she's stuck on a farm with his extremely domineering mom. Her father is an invalid. We don't know why, but maybe we're thinking that's because of the Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he is complete invalid. Can't do anything. And so it's just those three in the house. Pearl's husband's off to World War I, but she doesn't hear from him often. She does read a letter from him from the war, from the front line. That's very loving. But again, it's World War I. It's like the communication's poor. She has no idea if he's going to come back, when he's going to come back. So in essence, her life is just them three. And she's, in a way, she's a slave in her situation. The mother forces her to do, tasks, and she wants to escape. So she puts on mom's dresses and she dances. And then the mom caught her once and just verbally berated her. And so I just see the constant put downs and the beratement from the mother to Pearl is that her name's Ruth. Is that it's just kind of just wears away at Pearl and just kind of destroys her spirit. And she really latches onto this opportunity to go to this chorus line, and she practices and she puts everything into her performance. And the movie shows her performance, and it's actually, you're looking at it, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Yeah. But we all know how it's going to go. And does she get the part? No, of course not.
Well, and I also think, Gene, I love the scenes between the mother, Ruth, and Pearl, because the mother is, first of all, German. And right. So they've got a lot of backlash from the community. It's told, right, that, because they're the antagonists in the World War I. And so they have to be really frugal with their money and food and all this so they don't starve. So she's being like this real intense realist. This is real. We can't be dealing with your little fantasy world of being this dancer and all this. But the mother is also struggling. The one great line from the mother there where, I married this man to be his wife, not his mother, because she has to care for him so intently. And it's just really a lot of good interplay between the mother and Pearl, where you actually understand where both of them are coming from. Pearl is maturing as a young woman, wanting
to about 20,
wanting to go out into the world and kind of find her path,
escape this farmhouse.
And here you can't. And there's some great dialogue sequences where Pearl meets this camera operator.
Yeah, he doesn't have a name. He's called the projectionist.
The projectionist, right, in the theater. He kind of says, hey, anytime you want to come by, I'll show you some movies whenever you want to see them. But he kind of sets in her mind, too, that, you should go and live your life while you can. You're young. And
accomplish your dreams.
That even adds more to the conflict between the mother and Pearl.
Yeah, it's just like the characters, Pearl and her mom, Ruth, exist in parallel because they're both trapped. Ruth is, married to the invalid, husband. She is clearly not going anywhere. And Pearl, she wants to escape, but this is her family, So it's again that's that dilemma. Do I go off and accomplish my dreams, or do I listen to my mom and sacrifice myself, for that.
Right, right. I should mention, though, that the very first scene of the film is Pearl ramming a pitchfork through a goose and feeding it to her alligator friend who lives out in the swamp, who, if you've seen X, you would remember him from that movie as well. And because there's also this underlying thing going back to the masks idea. You don't realize how truly dangerous Pearl is, but the mother at a certain point in the film says, I know what you do in secret. I know what you really are, and I'm afraid of you. And so there's a lot more going on in Pearl's mind than the movie lets on, except for maybe that first scene there where she's killing that goose for no reason to go feed it to the alligator.
Right, when Pearl kills the goose, and you see it coming, you really wonder what's going on, but you still kind of, Pearl is a protagonist, you're kind of still, on her side, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, I think you're on her side for the whole movie, really, even when pretty bad stuff starts happening.
I don't know. It's like she meets a projectionist. The projectionist, seduces her, of course. And then projectionist is a nice guy, offers her to give her a ride home. But then Pearl starts talking a little bit too much, and the projectionist gets the feeling that this conflict is a little bit too much for me right now. I'm just going to go home. And then Pearl, and here we get for me, I got the first indication that Pearl there's something really going on here. And I think this whole thing, it kind of, for me, it seems like it started with the mother, because the mother, she doesn't have to be so ruthless, like Ruth is ruthless, but she doesn't have to be so ruthless in her treatment of her daughter. It's just in a way that maybe it shows the mom's character, that the mom is just so trapped. She is so given up on her own life that all she knows is just pain and toil. And so I'm going to spread this pain and toil to everybody, including Pearl, my own daughter. And Pearl is like, that's all she knows. And she hates her mother for this. And then Howard, or the projectionist, says, I'm going to go home. And then Pearl gets mad at the projectionist. It's like, she says, why are you so suddenly cold to me? And of course, he's just a good guy, but he's just like, I'm just going to go. It's time for me to go home.
Yeah, well, he's got to go start the matinee.
He's got to go start the matinee, which is a legit, reason. And so he gets in his car, but then Pearl follows him. And it seems like Pearl likes some pitchforks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but before bad things happen to the projectionist, Pearl is really angry at him. It's like screaming at him, and then irrationally screaming, irrational anger. And you really kind of see that through that there's something is really amiss with Pearl. Right. And again, I'm just really trying to go back, and I think that all this it's from the mother, I believe.
Well, and I also, though, the mother, to back up a little bit of your point there is that nice sequence where Pearl kind of sneaks back into the house, and she hears this crying, and she goes and sees that her mother is crying, right?
Her mother's
and
crying.
That completely backs up everything you're saying. The mother knows she's trapped too. This isn't the life she wanted.
No.
And so you've got two women who don't have the life they want.
No.
And it's going to end badly.
End badly for both of them. But again, it's just like I put in my notes here that this movie, I think, is a triumph of just being creative, because it's a really small set. It's a really small cast. And like Roger mentioned before, the cinematography is great, little bright, vibrant colors, big blue sky. So everything's beautiful. So you look at it and everything should be great, but it's not. It's like this talking about masks. It's like we could put on a mask even of our physical surroundings can be a mask for how we are inside, which can be much, much darker.
Right. And the other thing that I really like too about that is the feel of this movie is like a 1930s kind of Wizard of Oz style, Gone with the Wind style,
Right,
where it's
right.
like old Hollywood thing. You know, you've got this nice score going on, and oh, she's going to get first place in the dance competition and all this. But there's also this horrendous other stuff going on with her completely losing her mind. And I do
Yeah.
want to point out Mia Goth, who is also in X, and then the sequel to X, which will be coming out soon, called Maxine. She is an amazing actress. That ability for her to go from I'm just kind of your sweet farm girl to I'm screaming in your face,
Right.
and I bought it. I bought that. Yep, you are this character, you know. And I think her, and we'll get a little bit more into her tremendous performance a little bit later here in this podcast. But she is spot on. All of the acting is solid across the board, but she's a real standout.
Yeah. This movie works because of Pearl, Mia Goth, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then these fits of rage, we see it again when she finds out she has lost her part, and she gets really mad at the panel of judges.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they're all calm. You know, it's just we're just looking for somebody else. You know, it's not that she wasn't bad. She wasn't. No, she was spectacular.
Yeah.
But he clearly says, you know, we have other girls that are like you. We don't need another person like you. We're looking for somebody else.
Yeah, they were looking for that blonde, all-American,
the
blue-eyed
blonde
girl who.
which is Mitzi, which is her sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
You know, her husband's sister. So, and they end up taking her, and that, of course, later on leads to another conflict and another fits of rage.
Right, and that is, to me, the highlight of the entire film. We're jumping kind of towards the very end of the movie, but
Right.
one of the reasons I just really appreciate Mia Goth in this, and she's definitely getting more popular as we go and getting more good roles. She was in, of course, Infinity Pool, that Brandon Cronenberg film, and she was excellent in that. But there's this great scene between Pearl and Mitzi where, you know, because Pearl has completely broken down. She's just crying,
Right.
just really upset about not realizing this dream, because she had it in her mind that I'm going to win this contest and I'm going to just
Right.
off and go. And there's this dialogue sequence between Mitzi and Pearl, and Mitzi basically says, hey, pretend I'm Howard, her husband off to war, and just tell me what you're feeling. And I timed this, for almost 8 minutes, it's just Mia Goth taking you down this road of all of her feelings. And it's the first time in the movie where she basically lays out how completely dangerous she really is.
Right.
And talks about how I put on this face, but I'm really this, and I'm not a good person. And it goes on for 8 minutes, and it is
just talking the whole time.
She's talking the whole time, and it is riveting.
It's good. It's good.
And
It'd be refreshing if everyone was this honest.
Yeah, and just her acting in this, and I was telling Jean earlier today, the fact that she was not nominated for something for that role, just for that scene, actually is a surprise, because I cannot remember another actor having to do that with that level of intensity and emotions up and down and making it completely real and believable to the character. She knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, she did awesome. Yeah, but at that point, she was going down the dark path.
Yep.
Sure, her path. She had options, I think, until in her mind, she had so set everything on acquiring this cabaret role. So when that closed to her, you know, by this time of the cabaret role, she had already, the parents were already dead.
Right. We skipped ahead of that, of course.
We skipped the parents.
She killed everybody.
She killed the projection. She killed the parents. So.
And had packed up all of her stuff on her little bicycle, because she just thought they're going to hire me and
I'm going to go.
I'm off.
I'm going to be fine. But then she doesn't. Has the big talk with Mitzi. Mitzi's like, okay, time for me to go. And then she walks out the door, and she's walking down the road there. And then Mia Goth, Pearl, comes out, just grabs an axe, starts chasing her.
And that is a beautifully shot scene.
It is.
I love that camera work there, where Mitzi is really close to the camera, and from behind you can see Pearl come out. Notice the axe is right there in that stump, pulls it out, and just starts walking towards her.
Mitzi knows what's going to happen.
Knows it's happening.
Yeah, and of course there's a chase scene, but of course Mitzi falls, which is, could happen. Yeah, she's scared she falls, and that's kind of the end of Mitzi.
Well, and there was nowhere for her to go either, because they set up real early on. These are isolated farmhouses. We're talking 1918, where, yep, here's a farm, and then here's, 100 acres all around it before there's maybe another farm. So there's, because she's screaming, help me, but there's no one's going to hear that.
No one's going to come to her help. Yeah, so then Pearl does her in. So, but yeah, one of the final sequences is that the husband, his name's Howard, he shows up at the very end.
And so Pearl had set up the dinner table with all the corpses of mom and dad, and
earlier, I have to bring up this point that mom and dad, I think this shows the mom's characters, that Mitzi, who's kind of a more from a affluent family, she brought over, just to help out. She brought over a pig, a stuffed pig, with vegetables around it. It looked great. But then upon receiving it, the mom's comment is, well, we don't accept charity. And then she just leaves it on the porch, and just leaves it there. And then by the time they look at it again the next day, it's covered with maggots.
Yep.
Yeah.
It progressively gets more decayed as the movie goes.
Right. And then that is the centerpiece of the table for the dead parents.
Yeah, it's very similar to the ending of Happy Birthday to Me, if you remember that 80s slasher where all the corpses are around and there's the rotting food and all that. But yeah, Howard does come back. He gets dropped off by some truck and he walks up this step.
Military truck.
Yeah, and he's back from the war. And the Pearl character, during the lengthy dialogue sequence, had talked about, well, maybe I just need to set up this farmhouse as a welcoming, loving home for Howard when he gets back. And that, in her mind, is what she has done. And so Howard shows up. And then another great, one of the reasons Ty West is a really good horror director, there's another amazing thing that happens here right at the end. Howard looks at Mia Goth, because he's now seen, wow, there's these corpses here. This is weird.
Yeah, well, those would be my in-laws right there.
Right. Looks at Pearl, and then again, backing up the whole idea that we have these masks that we wear. She is smiling in what she believes to be what you would expect. Oh, welcome home, honey. I'm smiling and smiling. And then the credits start to roll. But while the credits are rolling, that camera does not cut away from Mia Goth.
Yeah, and Mia Goth is still live, still smiling.
Yeah, and so the smile starts to degenerate to you're getting a little more creepy looking and a little crazier.
And then she tries to force it back to I'm happy smile.
Yep, and tears start coming down and everything.
Right, else. And we're looking at Mia Goth forcing herself, big smile for 5 minutes.
It's it's a minute and a half to 2 minutes at least. And
it seems longer. I thought it was longer.
Yeah, well, because you don't expect that, right?
You don't.
You expect, there's the end, freeze frame, here's the credits, we're out of here. No, she's there forcing that stuff. And again, Mia Goth, just what a performance in this film.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, Gene, I know you're never going to see X, but that Howard character is also in X as the old, he's still married to Pearl in X. And so they're both causing trouble in that one. So at some point he just said, yeah, I'm totally in with this woman and I'm going to stay with her.
Right. He stays with this woman, even though this woman has killed the parents, clearly. At least killed the mom. He doesn't really know what's happened to the dad. But,
right.
Yeah.
But so the alligator, Theta, makes an appearance in X. Howard is in X as an elderly man. And of course, the Mia Goth character, Pearl, is in X as well.
Right. Yeah, this movie is for horror. It's definitely has all those elements for sure. And does this movie make you feel uncomfortable? Yes, it does. Because I think the uncomfortableness comes from is that in a way that all of us can relate to the feelings that Pearl is going through. So this, have all of us, done these horrific things with axes? Of course not. But have those feelings crossed our mind? So not the feelings of anger, but the feelings of maybe the clash. Like I was talking about earlier, of what do I want to do with my life, or do I have to stay here and take care of this obligation that I have, or do I need to obey this person, or can I just do my own thing, or that clash. That's
Well,
what
and,
I'm
and
talking about.
even things, Gene, like I really want this one thing to happen for me and it doesn't, like Pearl with
Right.
the dance thing. I am
Right.
certain you and I both, well, I know I have, oh, here's a thing that's going to happen, it's really going to happen, and then it doesn't, and you have to deal with that emotion there
Right.
as well, So there's just a really smart, well constructed, I mean, Mia Goth and Ty West wrote the story, so she's definitely into this character. She knows this character well, and it shows on the screen, and if you haven't seen this movie, you definitely should check it out.
Yeah, it's good, it's good stuff.
It's a real good character study, smartly made, beautiful to look at. Even when horrible things are happening, still really nice to look at.
And definitely horrible things happen.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Gene, any final thoughts on Pearl?
Yeah, it's a good movie. It's made for $1 million. It made about 10, so great return on investment, for that company. But go see Pearl. It's on a lot of streaming platforms. But it make you feel uncomfortable. It's the definition of horror.
Well, and we need to point out Gene's favorite studio, A24, was behind this one.
Oh yeah, it's an A24.
We didn't. I mean, X is as well, but we're never doing that one apparently. But hey, Gene, are we doing Renfield next week, or what do we want to do next week?
Yeah. Renfield seems like a good, horror comedy for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I saw it a couple weeks ago when Gene was on vacation and was completely surprised by what happens in this movie. So I told Gene he should probably watch it. So we'll do that one next.
Renfield.
But definitely check out Pearl. We'll
definitely check it out.
Catch you the next time. Bye.
Bye.